Russia is looking at us and, seeing us implement or moving towards communism and basically being critical of the president by saying, you obviously have not learned from the failures of other communist countries.
Well, I believe that he won't learn from the failures of other communist countries because he's on a Muslim agenda. And I think that he's using a lot of the Marxist ideology to implement what he would like to see as the slaughter of the colonialists, because it is our fault for the devastation that is going on in both the Middle East and Africa. And that's a personal opinion, folks. I don't want anybody to go out and say, Karen, but his tendencies are there.
Yeah, and that's one of the recorded steps, and I continually, every day, we have to go back and remind ourselves, well, okay, what are the steps that were required and are required to become a socialist, a communist nation? And one of the things, when we start talk about colonialism, that's one of the things that the 45 steps that were read into our history, read into our Congress, the steps that the communists wanted to take for America. That's one of the things, and that's one of the last things that remain. In Barack Obama, and in his history of who his father was, who his mother were, who his mentors were, that's an objective for him, and he's accomplishing it, and he's allowing all of these UN treaties and policies that are being put forward. He's a supporter. I mean, he absolutely supports, and I'm fearful that if we don't keep and maintain a real hard focus on our Congress and our Senate, that some of this trash is going to get through, and when it does, then, there's just a handful of steps required, and that's where they're at. We're on the edge of it.
You are so right. And this, we have to pay attention to the treaties, and one of the most egregious ones is coming up. And Karen, would you like to tell everybody what they should be looking out for on the UN treaty that's about to hit the pay dirt in the Senate?
Right. There's a treaty called United Nations Convention on the Rights of People with Disabilities, or better known as CRPD. Basically, what they're telling you is that this is a treaty that will guarantee people with disabilities will have the right to easy access to stores, transportation, all over the world. And that's basically how they're pushing it. We just want to make sure that, people with disabilities have access to businesses. I'm not a European traveler, but I'm sure there's probably places in Europe where people with wheelchairs or handicaps, do not have easy access. Unlike here in the United States, we've already put many of these protections in place. So while something like this may be needed in Europe or third world countries, it's definitely not needed here, and there's no need for us to sign on to it because it ultimately the decisions for your disabled child will rest with the government, which will be the UN. And many disabled children are also homeschooled, and we all know how the UN feels about homeschooling. So that's another thing I think you'll find is, they're going to want to take control of your disabled child. To me, this is a precursor. If they can get this passed, the bill that they really want is the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. That is the bill they really want. And
that's the one that... that's the one we have to really look out for. We were just joined by David Saucedo, who has come on the line from Texas. David, we'll get with you in 1 minute. We're just discussing the importance of making sure that any and all UN treaties never get ratified in the Senate. No matter what they sound like, they are not good. No matter how rosy they paint a picture, they are there for one purpose only, and that is to destroy the sovereignty of America, chipping away at it little by little by little until one day we wake up and we have nothing. And I really mean nothing, because that's what their goal is. Their goal is for you to be the recipient of what they feel that they can dole out to you, and as you work. You will be the work bee. You will be the hamster in the cage. You will be grinding the wheel, and they will get the rewards and the fruits of your labor. So that is very, very important, that we do not let these treaties pass no matter what. And
all of the treaties that Obama has on the menu are treaties that have been around, some of them for over 30 years. And they haven't been ratified for a reason, and the reason is because they're bad for America. And Obama knows they're bad for America, and he's going to make it his mission to get them passed. And this rights of the child and the rights for people with disabilities, the rights of the child is tremendously egregious. It will start inflating welfare, putting more people on welfare. It will require more people be put on welfare. It will require that welfare payments are higher. And in order to change anything about that structure, you have to get permission from the United Nations. Basically takes away all of your authority as far as your children are concerned.
And for those of you that have...
sovereignty of our nation.
Yes, absolutely, John. For those of you that have not had the opportunity to read Dick Morris's book, The Black Helicopter, it is a really good in-depth analysis of all of the treaties and why we cannot let them pass. I highly recommend that. And for those of you who want to learn about what Agenda 21 will look like in the future, then I strongly suggest that you read Glenn Beck's new book called Agenda 21. It's a fast read. It's horrifying, but folks, it's really coming. And if you take Glenn Beck's book and you relate it to two shows that happen to be on TV right now. One is called Persons of Interest, and that one is all about how you are being watched and surveyed and looked at, and how the government can track you in any way, shape, or form. That's a reality. And the other one is Revolution, which is what will happen when the grid goes down. So we have two shows that are giving you a glimpse of our future. And what we are saying is, we don't know what the future is going to be. We have indications that it's not going to be good. We recommend you prepare. That's the most important thing. If you don't know your enemy, you can't make a plan. You can't make a plan, you can't be prepared, and then you're a subject. And we don't want that to happen to any of our listeners. So, David Saucedo from Texas, welcome to American Freedom Watch Radio. You're on the line with Karen Bracken from Tennessee and Pennsylvania, and John Estabrooks from Louisiana. So thank you for joining us today, David. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Hello, everybody. How are y'all doing today?
Doing great.
We are doing great. David has a very interesting story. I met David on the Tea Party Express about a year ago, and David is, I would have to say, one of the recipients of all of those entitlement programs that the government thinks are so wonderful. So David, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what has gone on in your life and how those wonderful entitlement programs have helped you and your family.
Well, I mean, growing up, I grew up in typical low income, so I mean, we become accustomed to the system the way they are, and I grew up with poor education, with no real planning abilities to make my life better and to prosper with this capitalist system that we live in. I wasn't taught how to utilize the blessings of the country I live in. I wasn't taught about the country I live in at all, and today, I went through all that. I went to prison. I really went the way of, typical low-income people, or some more unfortunate low-income people. But today, you know, I'm building an entertainment company to fight back against those systems because I understand the system so well, because I know how it goes. I'm in a unique position to make a difference and to challenge those systems and compete with them to, you know, bring prosperity to my community. And I'd love to tell you about some of the things that we're doing right now.
Please do. Before you do, David, tell everyone your website, because that's very important. Folks,
yes.
If we do not communicate with each other, then we are equally as bad, because that is the real root of our problem, is the lines of communication are down. And we expect that because we are great, wonderful, and terrific and have made our success or whatever we want to call in our lives, that when we send out an invitation, those people should come to us with open arms. It doesn't work that way, because the people in the lower income brackets have been told so many lies about the middle class that they're afraid of us. They think we're horrible people. What do they think of us, David? What did you think before you met the Tea Party Express?
Well, I mean, I thought it is what it is. It's the rich against the poor. Democrats are for poor people, and Republicans are for rich people. And you know, there's only two extremes. There's no people in the middle that actually have critical thinking skills. There's no middle ground. It's just one. You're either one or the other. And so, you know, people want to herd with the herd, and people want to stay where they're comfortable. And so, you know, typically, what's the typical reality is that people, you know, huddle together, even though the herd is based on lies and stuff. I think it's I would say it's blindness more than hatred. People are just blind to what's real and what's not real because of all the lies that you were talking about. And my website is politic.com. It's POLATIK.com, and it's Politics Entertainment is a company we're winning the fight against the destructive cultures that we see in our community and around our country. For instance, number one, we see today's entertainment industry as public education. Our problem's not that American children are not learning. We don't have a nation filled with children that don't learn. Our problem is what our children are learning, because we allow the entertainment. We allow the entertainment industry to have a monopoly on entertainment, and they teach promiscuity or relationships with no preparation. Drugs are cool, anger is cool, disrespect is cool. And Politics Entertainment, we want to invest in positive arts, positive artists to provide wholesome entertainment. You know, we've been doing entertainment. We've been doing things in our community, but poor kids, they can't buy our CDs. They can't pay us to do concerts. You know, they can't give us the $1 million of production that the entertainment industry gives these goons, these absolutely evil people to entertain our kids. So we give them our CDs. We do the thing. You know, we love them, so we invest in them. We give them our time and our energy and stuff. And our children, the children in our community, and for those that don't know, I live in a very poor area. I live like in the hood. Like where I live, it's bad. You know, the police don't even patrol over here full time like they should, and that's how bad it is. But that's where I come from. You know, and if it wasn't for the Tea Party, if it wasn't for me meeting conservatives and having the God's love in me to say, okay, I don't want to just hate people just because you're protesting. I want to understand more about them. I wouldn't know any of this right now. But the kids in our community, they're begging for more concerts. They're begging for more activities, more teaching. They want to learn. We don't have the support yet, and we are building it, but we don't have the support yet to provide it. And what I want to do with Politics Entertainment is prove that entertainment is education. We can see it in the streets. We see that these kids are learning from the entertainment that they receive. They're inundated with, but it's backed by millions and millions of dollars, and it's all negative. It's ignorant. Try being a positive artist and moving up through the entertainment industry. You're going to get shut out. Or an artist that speaks truth, an artist that says the United Nations and Agenda 21. You know, you do a concert and you have information about Agenda 21. You have information. The kids will listen, but the entertainment industry won't. They won't fund it. They won't give the money for it. And so the challenge that I'm focusing on right now is building up enough support to meet a budget. $5,000 a month, we can, I mean, it would take pennies compared to what is being spent in entertainment right now to reach our children and teach our children and invest in our community to implement the citizen-led systems that we are designing, that they will outperform the government programs that, when it comes to fighting poverty and educating our young people, we can do a better job of it. I mean, I have kids there's like 6 kids walking towards me right now. They just got out of school. This is our time to meet. And our children, we're doing this with no funding. I haven't had not one donation for the last month to do this, and it's unfortunate. But even the people in the city, the people on the local level, there's a disconnect. Right now, what I'm partnering with is called the Carver Neighborhood Revitalization Initiative. And Karen, you and I were talking about how community organizing and the left owns community organizing. The left,
yes.
Community activities, they dominate that realm, and that's really weakening us as conservatives, as educators, as lovers of liberty, lovers of freedom. We're not getting involved in this community organizing efforts, and we're losing because of that. And so what I did...
I wanted to say something there, David, because it's something that I've proposed to other folks, and it's something that we need to recognize. We're losing that battle because we don't have organizations like yourself. Your organization, you need to be out there and competition and compete for the grants that are funding the left. You and I are funding every operation in community organizing that takes place on the left. We're funding.
You're absolutely right.
Organizations, that's it. So what we need to do now is compete for those funds. You need to have grant applications throughout your community and compete for. I would much rather have a right-thinking American citizen that's pursuing the right things for America get my grant dollars than a left communist leading organization. And right now we don't have those opportunities. We don't, because we're not going out and pursuing it.
Let me share an opportunity that we have right now, just like that. Right now we have a thing going on in my community, poorest community in the area. Now we have the city of Waco. This community, it's very poor, but it's real close to the downtown area. And because we have Baylor University in our city, and they're building a new stadium on our side of the river, all of a sudden we have all this interest in developing the community over here. So property taxes are going up, and there's a lot of stuff happening. Well, I started getting involved back in May on different committees that are in my community, and they're a part of this neighborhood revitalization initiative with Habitat for Humanity, the Carver Neighborhood Association, the Waco Community Development Center, and I started using Politics Entertainment to raise funds for them as a gesture of support. What I discovered is that we have many residents, even in poor communities like mine, that want things to be better, but we have a system that makes things worse. And unfortunately, the typical approach to make things better is trying to work through the very system that makes things worse. And many people they're either left frustrated or they give up altogether on trying to elevate. So as I started volunteering for these committees, I'm going to the meetings. I'm volunteering in these organizations that are getting the grant dollars that are doing it. And so I guess you could call it co-opting. Judgment. People will probably freak out if they hear me say that, but that's what I'm doing.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, and one of my first concerns that I expressed at these meetings when I first started getting involved is that building houses and developing the community will give the county and the city everything that they need to raise people's taxes and the cost of living, and that's exactly what they're doing. My taxes went up $700, and I mean I'm in poverty. I live in poverty, and my taxes went up $700 in 1 year, and they just voted to raise them up again, the county commissioners. And what one of the first concerns that I expressed is that it'll give the county and the city everything they need to raise people's taxes and raise people's cost of living. Well, the citizens, they send out flyers and all that. The citizens that are participating in these committees they were like, that makes sense. That's true. And so I said, if we don't use business and capitalism to help our community prosper financially, our outreach that we're talking about here will only push poor people out with the rise of living expenses, and outside investors will buy up our community for their own development plans, and the people of our community will not be developed. We are not being, this is not a blessing, this is a wolf in sheep's clothing coming into our community, because we don't have the skills and the education and the understanding to prosper financially to keep up with the rising property taxes. You build a really nice house with grant money right across the street from my house, and all of a sudden my taxes shoot up, and now I'm being punished with that. I'm not getting any extra services. I'm not getting any extra help. I'm not getting anything, but my taxes are going up and up and up because you're using development to displace people. And so what I started saying, okay, well, if I got better ideas, then let me present these better ideas. And so I came up with a plan for an economic development plan. I'm one of the chairpersons on hello?
Go ahead.
Okay. I'm one of the chairpersons on the economic development committee. And what I came up with is product manufacturing. I said, okay, I went to Walmart. I started looking at all the different products that are made in China. That's where our prosperity is going. And I looked at toothbrush holders. I looked at dustpans. I looked at dish soaps. I looked at bath mats, shower curtains, all these things. And I started to say, okay, well, let's start immediately working on getting what we need to manufacture small products and help people earn more money. And so this Christmas season, I'm trying, I started renting a booth at the local flea market, and what I'm starting to do is encouraging my neighbors and my friends to manufacture products. And there's people I think a common misconception is that people don't want to work. There's a lot of people that want to work, but the social systems that we have today actually punish us if we start working for ourselves.
Absolutely.
If I bought a car, I bought a 2005, and the only help that I received now is because my daughter got cancer in 2010, and she was automatically signed up for a lot of stuff. But I took my family off of food stamps. I took my family off of WIC after meeting the Tea Party, and I began doing for myself. But when I bought my car, I had someone coming into. I have a financial coach that's a brother of mine in Christ. He's teaching me everything. He's like, well, okay, why don't you file for food stamps and just to get yourself ahead. I don't qualify because I bought a new car. And it's when you start to do for yourself and you start to earn money, you start to make something for yourself, they begin to pull away the resources that they put in place because it's a system that's not designed to elevate your standard of living. It's not designed with an end result of independence and prosperity. It's a system that's designed to give you the very least and the very worst services and lifestyle that you can have and still survive. And so David, what I want to do...
Listen, your story is compelling because it's all across the nation. It is America. It is what America has become. And yes. What we all have to recognize is who the designers are. Yes. when we are paid to fail, when we are said, well, okay, because think of the people that are Medicare, Medicaid eligible, and they need eligibility. Well, they can't have ownership of anything. They cannot prosper. So, then the government says, okay, to be a good citizen, don't prosper. If you want to qualify, don't prosper.
And here's where...
go ahead, David.
That is where we win. And I try... One of the most frustrating things for me is that it's hard to... I can talk so passionately, I went and bought a camera. I'm starting to document this. Everything I do, I'm documenting it, and I'm putting it on the internet every week because one of the hardest things that I had to do is convince people that we need to invest in entertainment. We need to invest in entertainment and community organizing. It is what we have to do, or we will lose this country by the sheer numbers of the dependent. Because people, I'm walking through my neighborhood right now, and I've never met anybody that doesn't want a better life. But we've been conditioned. Our education system doesn't teach us. I did not learn anything about running a business in school. I didn't learn anything about living in the most prosperous, freest nation in the world. I didn't learn anything about the thing. Our education system should be teaching our children about capitalism, prosperity, and they won't do it. So we have an opportunity to do it ourselves, and we can do it. And if we had the kind of money that I seen spent, I cried looking at the money that was spent in this presidential election trying to defeat Barack Obama, which we needed to defeat him. And now it's going to be tougher because we didn't. But, oh, man, I wish and I pray, sitting here in my community, that people would give us a shot, give us a chance to invest in our ideas, invest in the things that will prosper us, and get involved in community organizing and entertainment. They are I think those are the two most influential and effort that goes on in this country. But we are
working on that, David. We are folks. We are going to have hopefully by middle of January. Great news for everybody. We're going to have I don't even want to say conservative because it's not. It's going to be American stories. Yeah. What's going on in America? What can we do that we can connect with more Davids, more Karens, more Johns, more people? Because what you're saying, David, is 100% right. Depicting people and saying 47% of them don't want to work, that's not true. That's not true. Why would we all of a sudden think the newspapers that give us the greatest lies in the world all of a sudden are going to turn around and tell us the truth? Give me a break. Yeah. That is absolutely not true. It's just like the election was lost. The election was not lost. The election was stolen. It's like Benghazi was started because of a video. Or please sign the UN treaty. We want to protect the rights of the American people. Give me a break, folks. It's time we grow up. It's time we say what is exactly true and let the truth be our guide and stop with the lies. David, you are right, and it is so important.
I can't wait for it. I can't wait for it because I'm in a pretty tough position that I'm too political. And Christians kind of shy down from me because I'm so political, and politicians or politicals shy away from me because I'm too Christian, and I'm just like I'm sacrificial.
You're an anomaly.
My community.
Hey, you're probably just an American, David.
Amen.
That's right.
There you go.
That's right. Well, the good news is the IRS made actually sent out a letter saying that they cannot dictate what is taught in the church. So that's one great news. They cannot dictate what is spoken in the church. Whatever language, whatever politics goes on in the church, the IRS has no authority over that, and there is no church that will lose a 501c3 status because of having political speech. So we can take that away from the clergy. They don't have that crutch to stand on anymore because all they did was use it as a crutch. So now we know that there are no ramifications. Folks, we have to stop preaching to the choir. What we have to do is become active. And becoming active means working with David, working with John, working with Karen. What can we do? Working with all, if we sit down and put our heads in the sand and say, poor us, which is exactly what the media is saying. I could not believe it last week, all the advice being given out by the party of lies to the conservatives. This is what you should do and this is what you should behave. No. Not true, folks. That's what they want you to think.
And can I plug just one last thing?
Absolutely.
I bought a camera, and I'm taking video, and I'm putting out a video every week about the efforts that I'm doing, and I'm putting a face to what we're doing. It's called The Activist, and it's my video way of letting people see what we're doing and trying to get somebody to support us, and I mean anybody to help us in any way that they can to do more of what we're proving that it works. And, you know, we just need the people, Christians, to stop being scared of politics and politicians to stop being scared of Christians and get behind us and help us make this happen. That's the activist.
If you have friends, family, and I know a lot of us are seniors, I'm talking about the juniors, turn them on to David. Get in contact with him, because one of the great things about David is his ability to talk, and we want to talk and connect with people all over the country. Just because David is in Texas does not mean that he cannot communicate with somebody in North Dakota. We are so blessed. We have internet. Now we have cameras. Yep. This will make fabulous stories. And we're documenting.
We're documenting everything so that when as we prove this, we can actually teach other people how to do it in their own community. So our goal is global. You know, we're documenting every single thing that we do, and we want people to say, hey, how do I do that? Well, I'm glad you asked. Here you go. You know, so I was really excited to meet you, Karen. I'm glad that you called me.
David, it's so wonderful to work with true Americans, because, folks, people ask, where are the leaders? Where are the leaders? Where are the leaders? We're the leaders. Look in the mirror. You're the leader. That's what America is all about. America gives the individual the power to be the leader. So pick up the ball and be the leader. We have to interact with each other. We have to. Because the lies that have been spread, the vicious messages that have gone out, have put a wall between people that should never be there. They should never be there, because we are all Americans. And just like David said, David, you brought to mind another a young lady that I spoke with also, and she said, Karen, I said, what could we do to help you? And she says, you guys have movie nights and you have discussion nights, and how come you never ask us to come? How come you never ask, we live in town. Just because we're younger doesn't mean we don't live here. Just because we are younger doesn't mean we don't understand. But maybe when you have some movie nights, if you do it in the library, we would come. Maybe we would learn. And she gave me an idea, folks, and that's some of the things that we need to do. We have to reach out.
Absolutely. And another thing is, I'm a student of this culture. I grew up in it, and what we're doing is actually studying the pop culture, and we want to use the same tactics that pop culture uses to deliver information on Agenda 21. I want to teach the Constitution through a youth-focused talk show where you got a cool, you got kids that look the part, they talk the talk, they know the slang, we study the music. Because I study secular music. I listen to the lies, I listen to what they talk about, I study their music because they're my opponent, they're my competition. And I am competing for the hearts and minds of young people, and I want to do that as far as education. And if I want to teach somebody about Agenda 21, if they're 16 years old, I can't come up to them with a packet about Agenda 21. But I can come up, in a more creative way and deliver it in little bursts of 15-second messages throughout a concert, throughout a week. Every weekend, have a show where kids from the community can walk to. And I promise you, if they can walk to it and there's something going on, they'll walk to it. That's the advantage that we have over the industry. We have more access to our children than the industry does, the music industry, but we don't take advantage of it. Same with the entertainment industry. We have more access to the children in our community than they do, but we allow them just because we don't create it. If you build it, they will come. We don't put it out there, so the kids don't come. We don't have the.
We haven't competed.
We have not been competing. And are we competitors? We are competitors. We are free market lovers. We're free enterprise.
Yep.
I say, you know what? I don't want to ban the other side. I want to expose them for the frauds that they are.
There you go.
Exactly. That's the aggression coming out of me. But I mean, when I talk to these kids in these streets, I talk to them real. You know, Lil Wayne ain't tough. You know, Lil Wayne can get a whooping put on him. He ain't tough. He's just running his mouth. You know, I know some country boys that'll make that cry uncle.
And you know, that's the reality, David, is that we allowed that disconnect to continue, and now that we are awakened, it's going to take exactly the activities that you're bringing forward, everything that you're proposing, everything that you're doing are all steps in the right direction, you know, and because it is, to tell the truth, look, this culture leads to this culture will lead you to here. And we have to be able to show them by example that, yes, the free market economy is a system that made America. It does work. It will work for you and your community. Or you can accept the socialist design of everything being, you know, that's what sustainable development is all about. That's what the UN's proposing. When you say they're driving people from their communities, it's by design. They want you overtaxed where you can't live even in a poor community because they want control. They want the land. They want everything.
Right.
But
and you know
one thing we need to do is, you know, I guess today's show makes it a reality for me, is that we need to each week have just a brief segment where we expose the media lie of the week. Because one of the things that I'm listening to in this conversation with David is class warfare. And we're not, you know, right now, everywhere in the national media, we're all listening to, everywhere across this country, the fiscal cliff. We're going over the fiscal cliff. We've been over the fiscal cliff. When you're $16 trillion in debt, the cliff was a long time ago. This cliff that they're designing now is a divide to separate rich people. And who have they chosen, and who are they classifying as rich? Someone that makes $250,000. Not true. Class warfare. We're witnessing the advancement of additional class warfare that's going to bankrupt all of us, every American, not just the rich. The poor are suffering worse than anyone. And we're not hearing that from the media. The media could care less. So we have to keep exposing the lies, and we can't buy into this separation of classes. We're Americans at every level. There are good Americans. We have to reach out, and we have to find ways to educate, and that's what David's doing. It's a wonderful, I don't know, I guess it's full admiration for what he's taken on.
Well, I one of the things that we're going to do, David, is we are going to set up a division, and I'm going to ask our listeners and everyone that hears this show, when you meet people that have questions, talents, something that you can't answer, direct them to David. When your kids come over to visit, show them David's website. Show them some of the things that they're doing. Get them interested, because we have been taught, don't talk about politics and religion. Oh, people over 30, they don't know anything, they're stupid, you don't want to pay attention to them. Those are the things that your kids hear. They hear them all the time. You have to show them it's not true. You have to be the adult in the room and not let them dictate to you, because that has been going on for so long. We've hidden in the shadows. We get called a name, we put our head down, and we fade into the sunset hoping nobody will notice us. Well, it's time to stop doing that. If we want to, quote, take our country back, unquote, then we have to work at it. It's not going to happen. It's not going to be magic. It's not going to happen magically overnight. There's evil people out there. But one of the things that evil people do not have is the truth. One of the things that we have is the truth. And the truth, once it's known, look what happened to David. David learned the truth, pulled himself up and said, I'm going to change this. I'm going to fix this. Did somebody come over to him and say, no, David, you can't. You got to sit in that box and you can't go anywhere? You can't come out of that little hole. You have to stay in that hole? No. Nobody did that. He did it himself, and he said, I'm not going to tolerate that. I don't want that for my family. I want a better life for my kids, and I want to help others on my way up. That's America. That's what we're all about. David, tell your website again.
My website is politik.com, POLATIK.com. I'm hanging out right now with William and Jessica. We got a video day right now where the kids in the community are coming over to do videos, and we're doing what needs to be done. So please go to politik.com. You'll see the activist video on my website. Every week you'll see things that we're doing. It's very encouraging. Other people will be able to relate to what we're doing, and hopefully they'll contact us, and we'll be able to start encouraging other people to do it. It's POLATIK.com.
David, I can't thank you enough for all of the wonderful things that you're doing. It is so important that we connect. I mean, it doesn't matter what your age group is. It doesn't matter what your race is. We're Americans, folks. And we have to connect with each other if we're going to get through this. And by this, I mean the devastation that is going to be placed upon us by the time this 4-year term is over. And our only hope right now, of which I feel very strongly about, is we have to protect our state and we have to protect our local communities. And if we don't do that, right now, we won't have any place to go. And right now we are in a position to be able to do that.
Yeah, like
a position of outreach will do that.
Just like he said, we've already went over a fiscal cliff. We really need to start. We need to figure out how to get this parachute to open quick.
Exactly.
This Liberty parachute, we need to get it opened up, and we're going to hit the ground hard. We need to at least soften that blow, So.
Well, and David, even if because none of us can define what the blow is going to look like, and a lot of us have different visions, and I've listened to professionals in economics, and you read all of the stuff. Well, yeah, it's going to look desperate for a lot of people. And the one thing we have to be able to do is connect as Americans and stay focused as Americans. Forget the party politics. Let's be Americans. And when we see things that are in our community, things when they get tough, they don't have to totally break down. We can reach out. We know what as Christians, when a man needs something to eat, well then, look here, brother, I've got a plate of food for you, but I'm going to need you to go help this child. That there's things that we can do, and we have to maintain our American compass. Each one of us has got it inside of us, and we're letting people try to design it and divide us, and we have to break that divide, and I think we are. I think we're accomplishing that.
Well, I'd like to share with you all what we're doing in the state of Florida, and or the state of confusion, which I now call the state of Florida. But we have decided that we're going to focus on 3 main items, and that will enable us to walk into our communities and talk to our neighbors. The first thing that we're focusing on is a property rights bill, because we have discovered that in all 67 counties in the state of Florida, there is not any comprehensive plan that addresses private property. Well, it doesn't matter whether you're a Democrat or a Republican or a conservative or a liberal. If you own private property and you have a risk of losing it that you don't know about, it makes a great conversation. So it gives you the ability to go into your community and talk to your neighbors. Bring around a petition. Talk to them. Talk about private property rights. The other item that we are going to take on is the Obamacare and refusing to allow the federal government rather, to put in state exchanges and to eliminate state exchanges so that Obamacare cannot be implemented. Oh, Karen, what a horrible thing to say, because then we won't be able to give out our free contraceptives. Well, folks, take a look at Obamacare, because free contraceptives is not even a full sentence. But what we have to worry about is that panel of 15 who are going to make decisions about the future of our health. And for those of us that are healthy now, think about what happens in 10 years if you're not healthy. Because in Obamacare, there is no provision. 70 years old, and they have the right to say, oh, sorry, you can manage your death, but we can't give you anything because you have passed your productive lifespan. So Obamacare is designed to eliminate the elderly because they want to reduce the population, but it is also designed to bankrupt the state because then the state will have to lean on the federal government, and the federal government will have the right to come in and tell the states what to do. The other item that we were going to work on, remember I said 3, is education. And that gives us the ability to go and talk to the young people, to talk to David, to all of those Davids who are in our community who, just as David said, have no idea how to run a business, have no idea how to plan, have no idea how to make a budget, have no idea what money management is. Wouldn't that be a wonderful initiative if we took it upon ourselves to go and help the young people start a business, learn about America, do the things that Americans do, instead of being on the outside looking in, which is where we have been placed. So those 3 initiatives, healthcare, education, and private property, we feel are the most important issues because they have no party boundaries. And that's what we're looking at. Pick an issue that has no party affiliation. MPA. And so, gentlemen and ladies, we are coming, unfortunately, to the end of our time on this wonderful Tuesday. And thank you all for hanging at this later hour. We certainly appreciate it. David, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, remember everyone, that's David, and he can be found at Politik, POLATIK.com, and send him your activist video. Talk to David. Yes. He's a great guy. I can tell you he's a great guy. He would love to know what's going on in other communities, not just Texas. Texas is not a separate state at the moment. Not yet, anyway. Who knows? If we nullify a few of the right things, maybe we will all be able to secede and get a little sanity. But right now we have to work with what we have. So please, get a hold of David. Let your children know that being a conservative or being an American is not something that they are being alone, that there are others that will join them, and that they have stories. Who knows? Maybe David would get together, write a song, and produce some music with a talented group of kids that are all across the country. That would be a wonderful thing.
I believe we're the future of entertainment, and we're just waiting for the future leaders.
I agree with you.
One of the big things, David, is also, I mean, when you know, it's great that we can drive folks to your site, and we hope that people go and they get on there. But also, we all have to keep keen focus. We have a choice where we send our dollars. When we have something like this that's a workable program, please, lip support is wonderful, but financial support is an absolute need for everything that we're doing. So if you can help David any way that you can, by all means, please do that.
That's right. And you know what? Think about this, folks. Who do you want to succeed? The Davids in America or the Chinese? Because where are your dollars going? Let's keep them in America. Let's produce American products. And let's make those products that we're producing our wonderful youth, because they will carry along our message. So let's